Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back. Today we are doing topic 4, lesson 2. This can be found on pages 98 through 100. Again, topic 4, lesson 2. I'm sharing your book with you. It reads, solving addition and subtraction equations. How can you get the variable alone in an addition equation? Take a look at this example. George had X plastic figures, so you don't know how many. After he bought 7 more figures, he had 25. So, how many plastic figures did George have before he bought more? Solve the equation X plus 25 to find the answer. I'm going to go to your next page where it continues. Here it is. So think to yourself, how can I get the X alone on one side of the equation? Of course, if you stared at that, you'd go, well, I know what the answer is. It's 18. However, pretend you don't know. So how do you get the X by itself? It says operations that undo each other have an inverse relationship. Subtracting 7 is the inverse of adding 7. Okay, so take a look at this left side. Take a look at this left side right there. The left side right there. You have X plus 7 on the left side. I'm going with the green cubes. I'm going to take away those 7, right? And think about this. On the right side, I had 25. But what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if I took 7 away from this right side that had 25, you would see that X now equals 18. This is what it looks like with numbers. Take a look at it. You had X plus 7. I'm going to do the inverse, which is minus 7 on both sides. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me share my journal with you. Ready? Let's share this, right here. Take a look at this. If I had this simple equation, you could look at it and say, well, that's 4. It has to be 4 because it says it's equal, right? Has to be 4. But real quickly, watch how when these get more complicated, you're not going to be able to just see that it's 4, okay? So if you had this, n minus 19.72 equals 36. Okay, so what's the value of n? You're like, well, I'm not quite sure. Okay, so just by me adding a decimal, it got complicated really quickly. Let's go back to this one, the little baby question, right? So I go, how am I going to get the variable on one side of the equation? Remember, here's your equal symbol. So this is one side of the equation, and this is the other side of the equation. So I'm going to get n by itself by subtracting 3. When I subtract 3, well, what's positive 3 and negative 3? 0. So those go away, right? But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Now when I do that, I end up with 4. There was your 4 that you saw to begin with. Let's do some more. Let's see what's in your book. So how about number 4? It says 22.7 equals 13.3 plus x. I will slide it up. Hopefully I've copied it correctly. Here is your number 4 from your book. Okay. And this one still, you can still, if you stared at this one long enough, that's a variable. It's not a multiply, it's a variable. Okay. So your goal is to get this variable by itself. So you need to get this out of the way. This is in the way. So how do you get that out of the way? I'm going to subtract 13.3 on this side. That makes those go away, doesn't it? I could bring the X down. I could bring my equal sign down. But now what I have to do on this left side is subtract 13.3. And when I do that, I see that I end up with 9.4. So 9.4 equals X. Let's do another one. How about that now? That one's too easy. Let us do 7. 7 looks like this. I'm going to copy it. How about right here? 7. It reads like this. Y minus 12 equals 89. Okay? They give you this down below. I'm suggesting that you do it the way that I'm showing you, right? So you have y minus 12 equals 89. I need to get this variable by itself. So that means this minus 12 is in the way. So what I'm going to do is add 12 to that side, because a positive 12 and a negative 12, when you combine them, those equal 0. That means now I can bring the y down, but I have to add 12 to the other side, and I get how much? Boom, boom, 101. Y equals 101. Let's do another one. How about if we do number 11? How about number, no, that one's too easy. How about 14? 14. Let's do that one. 19.5, I'm going to copy it off screen. 14 says 19.5 equals X plus 8.8. Ready? Here it is. I've copied number 14. Okay, I want to get that variable by itself. I want this to be on it by itself on the right side of the equation. Again, this is the left side of the equation. This is the right side of the equation, separated by the equals. So how do I get rid of that? I'm going to do minus 8.8. When I do that, those go away. I can now bring the X down. I can bring my equal sign down, but I must subtract 8.8 from this side, because what you do to one side, you do to the other. So I need to subtract over here, right? 15 minus 8 is 7. 8 minus 8 is 0. I get 10.7, correct? X, the value of X is 10.7. Okay, let's pick another one. Look at your problems, any of them there. How about this one? If you just look at that one, just stare at it for a second. Forget about what's under my finger here. I don't like what they do right there. We can use that if you need to. Just look at 55 equals X minus 48. Can you do it mentally? Well, you might, and you may also make a mistake. So let's do it together. Ready? I'm copying it in my journal. I will share it with you in one moment. It looks like this. It looks like 13 is 55 equals X minus 48. I want to get this variable by itself, but this minus 48 is right in my way. I must get this out of the way. When I add 48 there, I'm adding the inverse of that minus. Those go away. I can bring the x down. I then need to add 48 to this side, and I get, let's see, 103. Did we know it was 103 when we first looked at it? No. Now it makes sense. Let's do another one. In fact, I'm going to pause and see what is on page 100 for us. So let's take a look at that. Okay, I am on page 100. How about number 26? That looks ugly enough for us. Okay, it's hard to do in your head. You can't just, well, I guess you could. If you stared at it long enough, you could figure out the value of S. That's an S. I have copied it to my journal. So instead of staring at it, you would use your algebra. And algebra, you're finding the unknown right here. These are like little puzzles. Okay, so some amount minus that amount equals that amount. And I go, I don't know, I'm tired of looking at it. So what I could do is add 90.9 to that side. When I do that, I know that that's going to end up at 0. So I can bring the S down. Some people bring the S way over here. You don't need to. Just bring it straight down. Make it an S and not a 5. Okay? I can bring my equal sign down. It's okay if it's spaced out, no big deal. Okay? But then I have to add, I need to add 90.9 to this side, don't I? I could even add the 0 right there. 5 plus 0 is 5. 9 and 4, is that 13? That's 4. And 13, I bring my decimal, so S equals 134.35. Too easy. Let's look at another one. How about number 28? 28 looks like this. I wish they wouldn't have given you all that word problem there. I mean, they gave you the answer. Let's look at it. It says 28. Lila would like to take a ceramics class. The class costs $120. Look, there's the $120. The total amount is $120. She has saved $80 so far. Here's how much she has saved so far. So how much more does she need to save? Look at this. They even wrote out the equation for you. 80 plus some amount equals 120. This one is easy enough to do in your head, but pretend you did not know. Okay, so you'd have 80 plus D equals 120. I want you to look at this. So then I would go, I want this variable. I want that variable by itself. So I need to subtract 80. That makes those go away, right? I bring down D, bring down the equal. I need to subtract 80 from that side. D equals 40. Too easy. I want to come back to this problem in 1 minute. How about number 33? How about 33? 33 says, how could you find the solution to C minus 35.2 equals 40? How would you find the solution, the value of C? How would you find the solution? I would have this in the way, minus 35.2. I would need to do a plus 35.2. So I glance down below and I see two of them. This one says add 35.2 to one side. This one says add 35.2 to to both sides, both of them. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Good, we're about done. I want to go back up to number 28 because I see something here we need to talk about. There it is, right there. They drew that shape for you to figure out the unknown, okay? To figure out the unknown. I want you to notice, in fact, I'm going to copy this right here so we can look at this. 120, 80, D. Ready? You know that the answer is 40, okay? I want to show you, however, this could be 120. Look at the ways that this can be written. 120 minus 80 equals D. Make sense? 80, okay? 120 minus D equals 80, doesn't it? How about another one? 80 plus D equals 120. Every one of those will result in an answer of 40. Every one of them will, right? Doesn't it? Take the bottom one. Well, the D's in the way. The D's there, excuse me, the 80's in the way. If I subtracted 80 from the left side, I would then need to put it over there. Each one of those, these all say the same thing. These all say the same thing, okay? I want you to stare at that for a second. Notice that this amount plus that amount equals that amount, or that amount minus that amount equals that amount, right? Or that amount minus that amount will equal that amount. They're all right there. There's three different ways. The most obvious way that we see is this first one. We always want to put the variable here. I don't know why, we just do, but these other ones are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Okay, that concludes our lesson for topic 4, lesson 2. Send me any and all of your questions. We are going to stop.